and welcome to another episode of Laying Down the Lore of the Old World, a lore podcast in which we aim to separate our ghouls from our goblins, our snotlings from our skaven storm fiends, and our bloodthirsters from our bloodletters, and generally ask, what's up with this Warhammer stuff? My name is Ben Crone Barber, and I know pretty much fuck all about Warhammer. With me is my co-host Christopher Crowlin Allen.
Ben, do you have your tentacle?
I do, who knows absolutely fuck all about Warhammer.
Carry on.
And my dear brother Darren.
I also have a tentacle.
Who knows so much about Warhammer, it's a wonder he has time to do anything else. After gathering online to slay some vermin in the name of Sigmar, this dichotomy between our levels of understanding became clear, and this series is an attempt to address that ignorance. Done. I just wanted to say the interruptions at the start of that intro, I think, were the most disconnected and unrelated to the intro we've ever had. What was going on? I couldn't even see.
Me and Darren were having a moment. Let's not share it, Darren. It's our little secret.
It's only between me, you, and Puff Daddy. It's fine.
Exactly. Yeah. All I can say is I can breathe easy now.
Darren,
every time, look, your waveform is just huge. Turn yourself down one click. What is wrong with you?
Is my waveform huge or is my audio huge?
You have a massive personality. That's what the problem is.
Well, who'd explain why we keep having to get new chairs?
Yeah, Mom.
Right, okay, well, that's all done. Anyway, big thanks to everyone who supports the show. You guys are wicked. If you would like to support us, there are a number of ways even that you can do that. You can head over to Patreon, where you can sign up for £3 a month and access our Discord. Or
humorous interruption.
Or you can pay an extra £2 a month and gain access to our bonus show, Chunks of Dar. We also have merchandise and links to our affiliates if you're into the hobby.
Come on, you're taking too long. Come on, speed it up.
Just click on the Quartermaster link in the description, and biggity bam, you have supported us. Also, this episode may include some ads that help us to create more content for free. So the easiest way that you can support us is just by letting them play fully. And who knows, maybe even buying whatever it is that they're selling. But that makes no difference.
Dick pills.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Right, Crow, you know what time it is?
I know what time it is.
Hello, Reichland. It's time for Scyla's recap.
Hey! Okay, recapping.
Oh, you were snorting. Right, okay.
Yeah, I was snorting something. Yeah.
I thought it might have been cocaine. Yeah.
Well, now you've mentioned it. Okay.
It's a cocaine inhaler.
Yeah. What am I recapping? Episode 47, something like Nurgle.
No, fail.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about, Nurgle?
I can see the percent. If only this was a video podcast, we could have like a little percentage number at the top of the screen. So you just watch Dar slowly rise up as the coffee and the isopropyl alcohol kicks in.
That's what the Viagra's for, mate.
Klaxons start going off at 95%. Right, Crow.
Here it comes. Grandpapa Nurgle, everyone we all know and love. Preys on the hopelessness and despair in people. His followers are generally the happiest in bunny ears, accepting their fate, c'est la vie kind of attitude. Sounds very liberating, to be honest, as far as life in Warhammer goes.
It does, yeah. It's also weird that all his followers wear bunny ears.
Is it? Chaos.
Happiness and bunny ears.
Come on.
Yeah.
The Carnival of Chaos. That was a fun thing, wasn't it? Bunch of Nurglists.
Carnival. Yeah.
Bunch of Nurglists traveling around the place, spreading joy and happiness and the plague to the communities. Yeah. Was it a literal carnival, or was that just like a sick name?
No.
Was it?
It was a literal carnival,
and
it was a life-changing performance, Krell.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And were they obviously Nurgle worshippers? Were they just like plague-ridden and stuff, or did they actually do a good job of like putting a bit of mascara on and looking good in the aim of successfully spreading Nurgle's disease?
In the aim, yes. They were all dressed up like the Joker, not literally, but it's that kind of heavy layer of makeup
Sure.
Right, okay.
On all of them,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you did have demons of Nurgle as part of it. So you had plague bringers dressed as jesters, and there was miniatures for them. They're hilarious. And you had loads of little Nurglings going around.
Are the plague bearers the ones with the kind of pot bellies?
Yeah, and I see where you're going. I'm not a plague bearer. But they also...
If the cap fits, Darren. If the cap fits.
If the girdle fits. Yeah.
They were disguised as kind of, 40-year-old, 50-year-old dads, disguised as, carnival
plague bearers.
People.
Yeah.
So if you manage to penetrate, for want of a better phrase, the first layer of disguise, you're like, oh, it's just a bunch of middle-aged dads doing a carnival performance.
Middle-aged fathers.
There's nothing to see here. Oh, I've got a bit of an itch.
Got a bit of an itch there. I contracted it.
Got any
from a
talcum
middle-aged
powder?
dad.
Shut up, Dad. The self-regenerating army of Nurgle, like the units like the Rot Knights, the Putrid Blight Kings, Nurglings, and Ben, fill the gap.
Giggity.
Giggity. The Giggly Gurglings. And the Chaos Champs, Valia the Reaper? Yeah, sorry.
Valnir the Reaper.
What was the gap meant to be filled with there? Champions?
And the other units, such as Ben.
The Blight Kings. Yep. Yeah.
That'll do. I can't remember all the units. Anyway,
even though you've got them written in front of you.
I had the 3. That's the 3 that I caught last night. You know, when I messaged you in surprise, going, "Oh, are we doing the Old World recordings the second week in a row?" You're like, "Yeah, we're doing the catch up." I was like, "Oh, right, I better fucking do the WhatsApp recap real quick."
Right. So is this actually one you wrote yourself?
Yeah, I mean, can you not tell?
That's true. I only get asked questions about it when there's gaps.
Okay, name the 4 Chaos champions of Nurgle that we discussst. Go.
The 4 champions.
We just said
Nurgle.
one. You might have missed
it. Tamakan.
What was that one you were about to say? What was you about to say?
Festus the Leech Lord.
No.
Tamakan the Maggot Lord? Have I got that right?
Yes, that was Tamakan was one, or Tamerkin as we like to call him.
Turducken.
We didn't cover Turducken. Turducken's getting his own episode.
What, Tamakan? We did.
Yeah, we mentioned him, but we didn't cover any detail.
Yeah. There was one. It was a trio of them, and it's my favorite mini. It's the 2 small dudes riding the big fat dude.
Oh yeah, and are they brothers? Are they related?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I already don't like the way this is being phrased.
And then there was the other 3 guys who kind of weren't brothers, but they acted as if they were family, and they were all riding like big mutated steeds.
They were, yes. But who were the 2 brothers riding the big fat brother? Really cool mini. The Glockhin.
Yeah. Glockhin.
Yeah, excellent mini. Yeah. There was also Theta the Tainted and Valnir the Reaper. Is that right?
Valnir the Reaper. Yeah.
Valnir, yeah.
Who was a half demon.
Yeah.
Half demon.
Yep.
Half.
Which half? The left half.
The bottom half.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
Amen.
Wow. That was a roller coaster, man.
I feel recapped.
Yeah, man. Yep.
You look recapped. You do.
I forget. I've been up since 6. I feel kneecapped.
Before we go on, we got an email. It's quite a short email. I thought I'd maybe just chuck this in here. Do you remember a couple of episodes ago we were talking about the etymology of the word skeg?
Yes.
I can't remember what was it we were referencing in the Warhammer world?
No, it was a settlement called Skeggy.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
In Lustria,
that's right. And I said, "Oh, is that something to do with Vikings? Because in The Witcher you had Skellige, and obviously we've got like Skegness in."
I love the way that your brain went. Oh, Vikings. Oh, The Witcher.
Geralt of Rivia. So we received an email from John Gray BPM. I don't know his BPM. It's either his DJ name or it's like BPM, like PhD.
No, it's breast per monkey.
Okay, breasts per monkey. But John Gray.
I have an average BPM of 2. 2 breasts per monkey.
John Gray, he's a man of very few words. This is the shortest, some might even say curtest email that we've ever received, or certainly that I've ever read.
Does it just say twats?
This one doesn't, but those have. We have received those.
We have a filter set for those ones.
The title just says Ep 43, and then in speech marks, skeg. And then the body of the email just says, Old Norse for beard, Skegness equals bearded headland. And that's it.
Yeah,
that's mate. The John Gray BPM is a walking dictionary, isn't he? He's right there when you need him.
He's obviously a very busy man as well, because there's no hello. He doesn't fuck around with any of that top and tail stuff. He just gets right to the core of it. Right, bam. Here's the info.
Doesn't ask for thanks. Doesn't ask for like gratitudes.
No,
just there with a helpful "I told you so."
Here's why you're wrong.
I'm a big fan of his laconic podcast. You know, the one that's 90 seconds long and comes out once a month. That sounded better in my head.
So, yeah, I agree.
So thanks, John. I hope you and your brother Dorian are doing well.
I hope you're all right, mate. Are you okay? Is this a cry for help? A bearded cry for help?
Yeah. Right. Well, that's all done. Suppose we should probably do some episode now.
Right. Shut up, Ben. We're going to continue now with our Cavalcade of Chaos, not Carnival of Chaos, Cavalcade of Chaos. And we're going to deal with the very kind of incelly, angry god, Khorne, the god of blood, skull, and war.
Ooh.
Yeah, Mum.
That's a combination as old as time, isn't it? Skulls and war.
Yeah. He's like the gin and tonic of anger, which also happens to be gin and tonic.
Oh, dear.
Right. Khorne. What's Khorne about? What do we know so far about Khorne based on our ramblings?
He's angry. He's got a dog's head. He was born out of the anger and hate from the Mongol hordes era, maybe. He's got a skull of bones and... No, he's got a skull. He's got a throne of skulls and bones or something.
He's got a skull of bones.
He's got a skull of bones, unsurprisingly.
And his blood, you're not going to believe this, his blood is blood.
Yeah,
shut up.
The skull of bones was a marked improvement on the skull of hay and the skull of plasticine.
And a little known fact, he's a fantastic beatboxer.
Yeah, he is bitching at crochet. Yeah,
absolutely, man. Yeah. That's all I've got, Darren. How do we do?
I give it a solid 73.
Okay, cool.
73 watts? I have no idea.
Skulls made of bone, I imagine.
So, yes, encapsulated in all that is that Khorne is the god, the evil god of war and murder, and is routinely referred to as the blood god or the god of skulls. Question already, Mr. Chris.
Yeah. Whoa. Don't answer that. Kral, right. What have you missed? Where's your tentacle, bro? Jesus Christ.
Sorry. Excuse me.
He was Simon Says-ing you there, Dar. Jesus.
Yeah. What makes Khorne evil? You said he's the evil god of war and blood.
He is...
Because the other god of blood is just rare. Just really rare.
You haven't met him yet, but he is.
He's lovely.
So much more tolerable.
What makes him evil? He is the embodiment of mindless rage.
Okay.
So it's murder and death and war for its own sake, not for any kind of good, noble kind of defensive purpose.
Ow.
But,
gotcha.
Chris just tentacled himself.
Stop tentacling yourself, Kral.
Does that make him... Sorry, we're getting a bit off tangent, a bit philosophical. Does that inherently make him evil? You know, he is just the symptom of the human condition and the embodiment of, those human emotions and feelings. Is he malicious in himself, or is he just representing all that's cruel and horrible about and evil, I guess? Do you know what I'm saying?
I like it that he's answered his own question. Is he just like cruel and evil? Oh, he's evil. Yeah, he's evil.
There's the tentacle. The tentacle's whispering the answer to him. It's just like,
talk to the tentacle. Kral ain't listening.
In effect, then, it's really the kind of three words that go around Khorne that are not to do with blood, skulls of bone, and war is glory, anarchy, and dominance. Those are the three kind of core things he looks for in
the Gad factor.
the it boy with the axe
on his dating profile. Yeah.
And you have the Gad factor. Oh my God!
So he seeks those who are trying to aggrandize themselves and who are using violence as a shortcut to get what they want, to get what they need, which is usually dominance, like power over those around them through physical violence and war, as opposed to Nurgle, which is lots of
flatulence,
cuddles and pus, and Slanesh, which is the other thing. So
would there? You said that he was born, possibly born out of the Mongol hordes and their invasions?
No, that's 40k.
Okay, shutting up.
So what was Khorne's origin story in the Old World?
Good question, Kram.
There is a myth going that in a very large kind of valley that held 8 kingdoms, that they over time fell to chaos and warfare, and as the valley filled up with blood,
that's right.
This throne with Khorne sitting on it emerged from the center of the out of
from.
What
I imagine really shit special effects, like in the first Blade movie when that guy got cut in half at the end and the kind of weird blood bubbles.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Yeah, that's how I imagine Khorne just comes up out of that.
And Young Hearts was playing in the background. Real upbeat disco music.
Interesting. Okay.
But
there's no in the Old World. There's no reference to Khorne being related to or events in. I suppose our world didn't exist as a precursor to the Old World, did it? So there'd be no relevance, no relation to real world events.
Yeah. I mean, just for just to recap, in 40k, 3 of the 4 gods were tied to events in human history, in our own human history. So Nurgle came around as part of the Black Death, the plague. Mm-hmm. Tzeentch arrived during the Renaissance, and Khorne was believed to have gained sentience through the kind of mass murder of the Mongol horde and the invasion there. Right. So, but that is 40k. In fantasy, it just Khorne has always, just are. Technically,
just sat in his throne waiting for his moment. Come on,
yeah.
Pool of blood, go!
I love the idea that he's just sat there on a throne under all this blood with a snorkel.
Yeah. It's going to be worth it.
Can't see shit, but he's waiting.
Every now and then, in the lake of blood, just kind of bloop, and you just hear, sorry.
Not yet, Khorne, not yet.
I know you're excited. Stop. Khorne is a perverter of good intent at the most basic level, and we've discussed this previously, where any act of violence is like a prayer to Khorne. So even when you're fighting against the armies of chaos, the fact that you're fighting gives power to Khorne within the realm of chaos. So thus, he appears to those who have really nothing. So those who are in despair of their situation, if they're not snatched up by Nurgle, Khorne will be able to get them kind of G'd up and out there seeking vengeance against the kind of wrongs that have been, wronged. Mr. Chris, you were tentacling.
Yeah. Does the violence have to be physical? Does it have to be physical brutality? Could just be a domestic argument. Okay.
Oh, is that what you call them, Chris? No, violence is violence, son. It's not an argument. It's not a domestic argument.
We don't leave marks, so it doesn't count. All right.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm as shocked as you are, listeners. This is the first time I'm here.
Amy doesn't leave marks on me, so it doesn't count.
Yeah, exactly. After her gin escapades.
Mate,
her gin fears.
Lock myself in the toilet after a gin capades.
All of this means that it's very difficult to have a cult based around Khorne, because all of his prayers, all of his rites are all murder and violence and bloodshed. So you can't really have a subtle cult of Khorne. In terms of...
Just a bunch of slappers. That's as soft as it gets.
But again, it's still not very subtle. You would hear them coming. Do you know what I mean? Like, run! It's the Khorne slappers.
As you rise through the ranks, you get more and more rings. More and more
knuckle dusters and those funny little joke electrifying things that you used to get where you shake someone's hand and
But have you seen the it's like the UFC, but it's slapping?
No.
Have you seen this?
What, slapping competitions?
Yeah,
where they stand at a plinth. As it like same like as an arm wrestling.
An arm wrestling, so they just absolutely it's incredible.
Yeah, I've seen people who knocked off their feet with that.
Yeah,
wow, mental.
It's astounding. It's now owned by the same guy that owns the UFC.
What, Dana White?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So it's now a world sport. We should do a viewing party on Discord for it, because it is just nuts.
I'm assuming there must be rules involved in terms of like the actual contact, because obviously if you slap somebody at the front of their face, it's going to be mainly fingers. You slap somebody at the back of their head, they're going to get your full wrist. Do you know what I mean? Like fucking wallop.
That's more of a thump, isn't it, than a slap? Yeah. Nothing above the eyes, please. Nothing above the eyes.
Nothing above the eyes.
I want a clean slap.
I want dislocated jaws.
Yeah.
So, as I say, very difficult to have a sneaky cult of Khorne. They're usually worshipped then in battle, in a kind of open warfare where possible, but also in kind of the gladiatorial fighting pits that are around the old world. Some of the more major ones are in Marienburg. And indeed, there is one that has a Norscan raider as a pit fighter, and he shouts a car at the start of every contest, but that's actually he's calling Khorne in his own language. It usually ends up with him beheading one of his opponents, and some of the other pit fighters have started to do the same thing and are starting to be as successful because they are receiving blessings from Khorne for calling his name and killing their opponents in duels.
Amazing.
Yeah, so a great deal of pride permeates followers of Chaos as well, because you cannot have a moment of cowardice. You cannot allow yourself to fear when you're in battle, because those are the antithesis of Khorne's kind of spiritual dominance over warfare and bloodshed, which means
he's decisive.
He's decisive, yeah. So reputation is almost everything. So it's very much, if there was to be a sneaky cult of Khorne, it would be like the mafia. Do you know what I mean? It's people who don't go to any authority to have their issues resolved. They resolve them themselves. It's that kind of notion.
As I know.
Yeah. But on big spiky axes. Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever you're into, man. It's fine.
We're not here to judge, only we are. The kind of great tenets of Khorne's worship, the first being the greatest prayers is blood and skulls. Those are you'll hear often in the lore, in the stories, which is blood for the blood god and skulls for the skull throne of bone.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. I feel it needs to be recognized.
Yeah.
It's almost never wrong to kill, especially other servants of Khorne. So any problem can be resolved just simply by killing. And the kind of the most benefit a prospective champion of Khorne will get from killing is killing another champion of Khorne, because by definition they're killing someone who's an extremely powerful warrior, so they themselves must be even more powerful.
So there's more glory in it.
Exactly right. So the more accomplished the warrior you kill, the greater the level of prayer, in quotes, that goes to Khorne.
It's amazing that they even band together at all.
Yeah.
How do they even coagulate? Because, I'm assuming that they could potentially generate more, murder and death and blood and skulls by being in a bigger group, because they would then attract bigger groups. Is that logical? Could you say that? Would Khorne prefer that?
I think it's Khorne prefers mass murder to murder, but he still prefers murder.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? He still likes murder, but if you can get a load of kind of champions or warriors of Khorne together and they get set loose on an army, then it's going to be happy, gory, fun times. And it'll be like the Vienna Boys Choir is the equivalent. Insofar as the sheer amount and pitch of murder and death will be like a prayer. So I'm using that. Mass battle is a choir as opposed to just a quiet prayer. You see what I mean? I kind of went off the rails there.
You did there. No, you lost Krall and me, but you brought us back, so that's all good.
You're very welcome. Other tenants then, because they're dedicated to reputation and warfare and bravery, anything resembling mercy is a massive faux pas in Khorne's eyes. It'd be like, going out with someone from an orchestra and taking a dump in their trumpet.
A trumpet dump. A dumpet. Yeah.
I caught myself there because I was saying, like, taking a dump in their turnip. Doesn't make any sense.
That would just be weird, right?
Come on, Darren's brain. What are you doing?
Would they see that as heretical?
Yes, I'd say so. And I want listeners to know how pleased with themselves Ben is at using a word ending in AL.
It's been on my to-do list this whole year, and I get to close out the year. I take it off that box.
And yes, it's not the usual one he ends with, which is anal. Anyway, speaking of anal, Khorne's worshippers hate with a passion two things: magic users and Slaanesh. Well, we're not going to judge Ben. So Khorne detests magic users and wizardry because that's the kind of purview of Tzeentch, and he really doesn't care for Tzeentch at all. But he would prefer Tzeentch over Slaanesh. Slaanesh is obviously god of excess and the ex-god of happy sex fun times. And so that's the opposite of war, apparently. Make love, not war is a Slaaneshi piece of propaganda, and we should ignore it every chance we get.
Do you think Slaanesh's CV has that on it? 2000 to 2015, god of sexy time. Now, just god of excess. 2015 to present. God of excess. Right.
The tentacle has arisen. Yep.
So, Khorne dislikes Slaanesh. Nurgle and Tzeentch are opposed as well. You have Chaos Undivided followers, and you also have followers which do dedicate themselves to each god. Obviously, the Chaos Undivided don't have a problem with the various opposing Chaos God alignments, but would a follower of Khorne beeline straight for a follower of Slaanesh to chop his head off?
Only if they weren't working towards a common goal under a more powerful Chaos champion.
Okay.
Like
we want a sexy murder. Okay, we'll work with Slaanesh's dudes.
During the end times, do you remember during the Slaanesh episode we talked about Takala, the denied one? She was the snake body with 6 arms. Yeah. She was paired up with a champion of Khorne, who we'll discuss in this episode. During the end times, they were sent to India, as we would know it in the Warhammer setting. And so they fought together, their massive armies fought, side by side, perhaps giving it a bit of the weary side eye, and just every now tripping each other up, that kind of stuff. But they were under the control and order of Archaon, the ever chosen of Chaos.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Right. So they kind of they laid down their petty differences and rallied.
Yeah, publicly, yeah.
But behind closed doors, they're like, meh, assholes.
Yeah. They were kind of staring at each other.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Being really passive aggressive.
Yeah. No, they fought really well. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Do you know what I love about you, Takala? You can just wear anything. Yeah, that kind of shit. Yes, so magic is verboten amongst the followers of Khorne, who view... Really, they have a twisted version of the kind of Bushido honor code of Japan, where they have a warrior's code, as most cultures have ended up having through time. And so they view magic as transgressive. It's not okay to kill people at a distance. There are very few ranged weapons in a Khorne army, as most of them tend to want to get to grips in hand-to-hand combat. So they favor, flails, swords, and especially axes, because axes are associated with beheadings. That is not to say that magic users cannot dedicate themselves to Khorne.
Oh.
There are chaos sorcerers who become champions of Khorne. They just have to never use magic ever again.
Okay.
Even if there's... Well, it's not for Khorne, because not only is he getting a champion who's clearly is able to dedicate themselves to something, but he's denying Tzeentch, a magic user. So these games are played at so many different levels between the Chaos Gods.
It's a shame, because you could have, you could get like a sorcerer that dedicates himself to Khorne, and then the only magic tricks that he could play, the only spells that he could cast would be things
Bunny from a hat.
Yeah, but no, like make this champion's axe bigger. Make this sword sharper. But then I suppose that would kind of give an imbalance, and that wouldn't necessarily be as much glory. Is that?
Yeah, no. There are very few area effect buffs associated with the armies of Khorne. But you do raise an interesting point. Yeah, there are kind of the prescription against magic users does not extend to magic items. They're huge consumers of magic items.
Love it. Can't get enough of
it. They are the key demographic in many cases for the magic items that are produced by the Chaos Dwarfs. A lot of historically in 3rd edition, you could ally a huge number of Chaos Dwarves with a Khorne force, and so you were able to include a lot of war machines. So it's technology, really, and we'll come on to that shortly. But just to close out the magic user section, with any follower of Khorne who was a magic user, the moment they start to use a spell, or the moment they even begin an incantation, Khorne withdraws all of the kind of blessing and gifts he's given them, and then a pack of flesh hounds turn up and tear them to shreds. So they're eaten alive by dogs, by demon dogs.
Bit of an overreaction, isn't it?
Yeah. I was just doing a kids' party. What
hang on a second. Are we forgetting the evil thing?
Oh, right.
Where he's evil, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He sounds petty rather than evil.
Yeah, he's not proportional evil.
No.
I'm assuming that the weapons that they have are all like something of something. You know, the sword of slashing, the axe of cutting.
Yeah, there's quite a few of those. And in terms of magic items, I just want to highlight 4 to give you an example, to give you a kind of the breadth of the arms and armor that's available within the worship of chaos.
Here's a game. You say the name, me and Kral will guess what it does, what the buff is.
Okay, chaos armor.
You wear it.
Yeah,
nailed it. Armor. Absolutely nailed it.
Yeah, it's just a bit more chaosy than normal armor.
It's 1 level more protective than armor of its normal type.
Right. Okay.
And chaos armor is unique to Khorne, or any chaos follower of any alignment can.
Chaos armor is available to all chaos warriors and champions. Do you recall when I said that, like, when you dedicate yourself to Chaos God, you get like 1 gift and 1 mutation, 1 attribute? Yeah. So with Slaanesh, you get this kind of willpower bonus.
You can go all night, baby.
All night, baby. With Nurgle, you get increased toughness. You're harder to damage. With Khorne, it's you receive a suit of chaos armor.
Oh, yeah, while you're sleeping.
May or may not be there when you are sleeping, yes. Yeah.
Bam, you wake up, chaos armor.
One of the cool things about chaos armor is that if you gain further mutations or rewards that change your physicality, the armor automatically adjusts to be able to accommodate it.
That's handy. Do you know what I could fucking do with that? Because I've just hit 41 and there are changes going on that I'm not happy with. That I'm having to adjust my clothing, and it's costing me money, man. Like, I want some clothing that just, do you know what I mean, sorts itself out. Right? Yeah. That would be great.
Or you could stop eating chocolate. One of the two.
Fuck that.
That's crazy talk, Darren. Right. Okay, here we go. Now we're going to enter into the contest proper. Bloodstone. As in a bloodstone.
You got to pass them, and they're really painful. When you're about 40 to 50, they creep up on you. Is it calcium? Ugh.
Oh.
Eesh.
Is it a stone of like coagulated blood?
It is a stone in the shade of blood. It's like a pumice stone filled with blood.
Right, okay. And you use it
bloodstone
like a weapon. You just fucking smash a skull.
You have to see the whites of their eyes. Is it?
It's a grenade.
The bloodstone. Is there more than one of them, or is it unique?
No, there are plenty of bloodstones going
Everyone's
around.
Everyone's got them. Okay.
They are one-use magic items. Once they're used, they kind of
you crush it and the blood just turns you into a fucking rage.
That's quite close.
Oh, okay.
Or do you put it on your armor, or like put it into a gem slot on your weapon or something, or like stick it at your bum? It's a suppository, isn't it?
You crush it. Possibly in Uranus, Chris. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, it's you crush it and say a prayer to Khorne as you crush it, and if Khorne views you favorably, it summons demons.
Oh. And if it doesn't?
If it doesn't, you're just left with a handful of crushed bloody rock.
Some aggregate.
I've got a dud one. This one's not working. Yeah.
I paid good money for this. The guy said he injected the blood into the rock himself.
but it's one of those gifts. It's a wake up gift. It's a gift you get at breakfast. Is you wake up and there's a bloodstone and you go, oh man.
You're gonna have to crush that.
Maybe Chris is right. It's passed as a kidney stone.
Yeah,
and then it just grows. Graham.
Yeah,
but yes, so it can summon flesh hounds, bloodletters, the lesser demons, and in very rare cases, it can summon a bloodthirster, a greater demon of Khorne.
God, yeah, you'd be chuffed with that, wouldn't you?
Well, it depends what you wanted. If you just wanted if you wanted some heavy stuff moved,
a piano. I am here to destroy. I'm glad you're here. Could you just move that from over there to there, and then we're done? No killing needed.
You'd be raging if like you'd used it a few times. You just got like a shit like blood letter in the middle of a battle, and then like you say, you wake up one day and there's just one on the floor next to your bed, but you don't see it, and you stand on it, and then just bam, it's just a fucking greater demon. And you're like, dude, where were you? Like a year ago, man. I needed you. You sent one of those little fuckers.
We're going to bed, mate. But I am here to cause mayhem and chaos. No, we gotta get bed.
It's definitely something you can't carry in a pouch. It has to be in a box. Has to be in like a sturdy box. Right, next item. The collar of Khorne.
Is it like a dog collar?
Yep.
Oh, right. It's actually, I thought you meant like the collar. Like he's called. Hello? Is that Khorne?
No,
yeah.
that
Computers, no.
That would be the call center of Khorne. Very different. You enjoy anger, work in a call center. It's hilarious.
The collar of Khorne. Okay.
Yep.
Do you put it on your enemies and they will fight for you?
That's a great suggestion, but no.
You put it on yourself and it enhances your fighting abilities.
In a way,
Do you wear it at all?
Yes. It's a collar. You put it around your neck or on the neck of other things.
Okay. Right. So it's a buffing thing.
Yeah.
Does it just make you stronger?
No.
Does
Think about what Khorne hates.
Oh, is it like it repels magic?
It repels magic. It makes you largely immune to the effects of magic spells. It's mostly found around the necks of the flesh hounds, the kind of dogs.
I was going to say that was the only thing, or that was the only Khorne image I can remember. I could say they do. They've got like little spiked collars. I was like, how very goth, little gothy dogs.
The chokers of Khorne.
Yeah. Very
not to be confused with the Khorne chokers, which is the Sineshi thing. Now, the final item is the Axe of Khorne.
It could be anything, couldn't it?
It's a peace offering.
It's mostly wielded by the bloodthirsters. But what's special about the Axe of Khorne?
It's not an axe at all.
It's not an axe.
It's a cane. It's a cane. It's a whipping stick.
It's actually a poem.
It's a table piece.
Yeah. Chandelier. The chandelier of Khorne.
What a social faux pas. You started like slaying people with this axe. It's, like, it's ornamental.
Is it only used by which was it the greater demons they used?
The greater demons, yeah. It can be gifted to particularly favored champions.
Isn't the champion like, dude, this axe is the same size as me. What the fuck am I meant to do with this? It's massive.
They come in various sizes, but they have the same. Cool. They have the same effect.
Yeah. Do you have the small? The extra small. This is fucking massive. Okay.
I love the idea that you're staggering around with this enormous axe, and then you accidentally stand on your bloodstone. Fuck! Yeah. Oh, you'd be angry.
Could get any more inconvenient?
You'd be ready for war then.
This isn't describing what it does, but is it like a fragment of Khorne's own weaponry or something, and it is imbued with some of his strength and power?
That's a good
very
idea.
Good guess. No, you're not going to get it. The Axe of Khorne is a demon weapon, meaning that the greater demons of Khorne carry a demon axe, and the demon that's possessing the axe is another greater demon of Khorne.
Wow.
So you're getting
a twofer.
It's a really good axe.
It just gives you one more attack dice. Is that it?
No, it's like it ignores armor. It eats your soul if it even nicks you. It's
right. Okay.
Yeah.
There's not a lot it doesn't do.
Yeah.
You ever seen a weed whacker? The weed whacker of Khorne.
Cool. Okay. I enjoyed that.
So as we've kind of gone through here, we've said that there's very few cults of Khorne within the old world and beyond because of the kind of egregious nature of their rites of worship. You do find that where they do exist, it's within kind of martially oriented organizations like the Templar orders of the Empire. It's rife amongst the nobility within certain aspects where you get Fight Club style bloodletting rituals where nobles pair off against other nobles or peasants or what have you, and the only rule is one of you gets to walk out of the... Yeah. Mr. Chris.
The cults are quite secretive, aren't they? Because you don't want the wider world to know that you're part of these cults. Being part of a cult of Khorne must be quite difficult, less discreet, harder to hide than
subtlety is not a thing associated with Khorne.
Missing an arm, black eye, missing an eye even, you know what I mean? Missing a head. How do you hide that shit?
Yeah, but like I said, Crow, you don't talk about Fight Club. You just go about
Don't need to, you ain't got no fucking head.
Yeah, it's like the latter
I'll give you one guess where he was.
It's like the latter half of Fight Club where they're all like going about their normal day jobs and they've all got like bruised faces and black eyes and cuts and stuff. And, and then they see another person like that and they're like, oh, aye, yeah, wink, wink, nod, nod. Yeah. Like a bit of corn, do you? Lads. And the other guy's like, shut the fuck up.
With the finger he doesn't have.
No, it is the guy who beat him is standing next to him and he's holding up his arm, holding up the arm he severed to the guy's lips going, that is not to say that these cults don't exist at all, and that they can't have very odd kind of starting points. A good example of this would be a cult called the Brass Sisters. Now, Khorne is associated with iron, blood, and brass. Those are kind of key ingredients in any kind of Khorne casserole. Ugh. So the Brass Sisters began after the Great War Against Chaos, where you had a lot of imperial soldiers and imperial militia being slaughtered by the marauder tribes of the north. In this instance, one of the widows became incredibly resentful of, men of those with a happier life and kind of men in general, and began not exactly worshipping Khorne, but using violence to solve all problems.
Just chatting to him, just venting.
Yeah.
Barry's gone off again, having more fun than me.
Yeah, and so she's one of the ones sat on the stairs, but weirdly, no gin.
No gin.
Just angry.
Yeah.
Just angry.
So was she exclusively killing men? Was that her thing?
No, she was killing, but she reserved her extreme anger for warriors,
right,
who believe either killed her husband or didn't defend, didn't stand side by side with her fella. And so she gathered together the widows of all these warriors and eventually became the leader of their village by saying, effectively, no one's coming to help us. We have to be able to defend ourselves. And when their village was attacked by bandits, she and the other, sisters at this stage, just killed all of the bandits. And there was such kind of bloodlust present at that caught Khorne's attention. And so...
Aye.
Yeah. I like the cut of her jib.
Yeah.
My corn sense is tingling.
After this kind of great bloodletting, she began raiding other villages with her battle sisters. And ultimately...
She had the momentum, just kept on going. She's like, why stop here?
She did, yeah.
Yeah.
ultimately, when a Imperial patrol came by to investigate rumors of these kind of crimes, they simply disappeared into the woods as far as the Empire is concerned, because the Battle Sisters engaged in horrific bloodletting, kind of lured them in, showing them a bit of ankle to lure them in, and then stabbing them.
Classic,
yeah. And then stabbing them to death, and ending up kind of blood-drinking frenzy where eventually they all fell to the worship of Khorne outright. And so there is a village in the north of the Empire run by effectively berserker women who, with every act, say a prayer to Khorne. But it was something that was driven out of despair, desperation, and vengeance. So it's well within the wheelhouse of those who follow Khorne as starting points. And that's the Brass Sisters, which appeared in the second edition of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplaying as a kind of adversarial cult you could go up against.
I like that.
Yeah. Nice.
So we've looked at the purview of Khorne, talked about some cults of Khorne and Khorne's aversion to magic, although not magic items. In fact, I think it's quite safe to say in the lore, an army of Khorne will have as many magic items as armies of Tzeentch. And Tzeentch obviously is the magic...
the magiciest.
The magiciest magic, but they deal more in actual spell casting. The final deep dive on the Chaos Gods and their champions will be Tzeentch, so we'll cover them next. Mr. Chris.
So just to clarify, Khorne won't penalise you for using magic items whatsoever. You get as many magical daggers, hammers, swords, axes, javelins, whatever as you like.
Armour, yep.
And armour, but you cannot cast any spells. That's the caveat. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is weird, given that clearly there has to be magic spells cast in the forging of these weapons, unless they're forged.
We don't talk about that.
You never look how the magic sausage is made.
Yeah, don't read the ingredients on the back of that.
Ignorance is bliss.
All right, okay. Impromptu magic item description. The sausage of Khorne. It's just black pudding. I was tricking you. It's just black pudding.
Nice. Yeah. I thought it was like you consume it and then you just go into a rage. You're like, oh, it's fucking sausage.
The old Red Bull bratwurst, eh? As we've done in the past 3 episodes, we'll have a look now at the Beastmen of Khorne, the so-called Khorne Gore. And these are the kind of elite Beastmen warriors who dedicate their lives and their souls to Khorne. Mr. Chris.
Do all the Chaos Gods have some sort of contingent of Beastmen? Is it like the Beastmen the kind of common denominator?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Given that the Beastmen are referred to as the children of chaos, there are going to be breeds and tribes of Beastmen dedicated to each of the gods, with as much frequency as there are warriors like humans who dedicate themselves to a single god versus warriors who kind of worship chaos in the abstract as kind of undefined. Beastmen, obviously, the Chaos Gods find them universally useful. They're great foot troops, they're hardy, they're tough, they're savage warriors, and they hate civilization and want to bring it to its knees. That aligns very well with Khorne's philosophy in terms of who fights for him. The Khorne Gore are they're like the stormtrooper of Beastmen, insofar as they're very well armored and they can't hit anything with ranged weapons.
Yeah, and they're wearing shit light armor.
Yeah. No, these guys. I mean, these are the most heavily armed and armored of Beastmen. So they wear huge chainmail coats with plates kind of decorated with the runes of Khorne and evil leering faces and skulls. They wear helms. A lot of them wear helmets as well, which is quite unusual amongst most of Beastmen kind of fighters, except for like the Bestigor, who are the kind of the creme de la creme. They are frenzied. They hate everything and everyone on principle. And so the Khorne Gore will be found in the middle of, well, they're found in two places. One, the middle of any war, the middle of any battle, there will be a huge contingent of Khorne Gore if one of the armies is dedicated to, well, Khorne, I suppose. They also love hunting. So they will hunt the most dangerous animal of all. I was going to say men, it's probably dragons, but men. And will release men into the woods and hunt them down. Much like fox hunting. As was in the UK. In terms of their organization, they're very regimented. They are very well drilled and a very effective fighting force, and can be used as like an anchor regiment in a battle line, because they're not going to flee.
Do they have a language?
Yes, the Beastmen and indeed most Chaos Servants speak something called the Dark Tongue. And there is an alphabet, and there were rough translations given in some of the earlier Chaos books.
Cool. That's wicked.
What I'll do is I'll find let me just take a note. I will find the image of the runes and their translations.
Has there ever been a kind of audio, example released of how that might sound?
I don't know. There is a pronunciation guide with some of it as well.
Right, okay. Kral, would you like to offer pronunciation for the Dark Tongue? What would that sound like?
A pronunciation?
Yeah.
You just want me to say something? You just want me to have a go at something, saying something in the Dark Tongue?
Yeah. Well, I can help you with that. Khorne Gore. That's
Khorne Gore Smash.
Nice.
How about that?
Yeah, it works. Yeah, okay, we'll accept that. That's the first word we've learned.
Now leave me alone.
Are you tired of lifeless, soulless decor? Looking for furniture that makes a statement? At Khorne, Skulls and Furnishings, we believe every piece should tell a story, preferably one of glorious, blood-soaked battle and conquest. Whether it's a throne fit for a champion, a war table carved from the bones of the fallen, or chandeliers that is as illuminating as it is scully, we bring your vision to life and death. From the humble warrior's hovel to the grand fortress of a Chaos Lord, our designs cater to every aesthetic. So long as it's crimson and bone. At Khorne, we source only the finest skulls from the bloodiest battles. Every piece is a tribute to the blood god, combining art, utility, and skeletal topiary. Khorne, Skulls and Furnishing. Skulls for the Skull Throne. Comfort for the Chaos Home.
The Khorne Gore are very kind of dark reddish in hue. They have kind of really dark brown or black fur, usually wielding a two-handed axe, is one of Khorne's favorite weapons, and are unbelievably savage. And
you'd expect so, though, right?
Yeah, you would hope that the beastmen associated with the god of war would be good at war. Maybe it's a misdirection. They're actually magic users. Yeah. So Khorne Gors will appear almost always when a large battle that involves a significant contingent of kind of Khorne warriors or Khorne worshippers rocks up. In the larger scale battles, and indeed many of the kind of major battles within the Old World, and indeed within the Chaos Wastes up north, you'll also find two other types of specialized unit. One is a version of kind of minor champions, knights, but they are mounted on the juggernauts of Khorne instead of ordinary horses. And these are the skull crushers of Khorne. So these are warriors who are well on their way to becoming champions, if not already minor champions in Khorne's eyes. And so these are the kind of cataphract units, the line breaker cavalry units of Khorne. And for, Khorne Gore for the skull crushers, and then for the third kind of specialized unit, the skull reapers, who are, if Chaos Warriors are already elite fighters in the mortal forces of Chaos, the Skull Reapers are even more elite. These are the berserker units of Khorne, and they don't fight, or they tend not to fight, anything other than other Chaos tribes, because they view anything that isn't a Chaos, at least a Chaos Marauder in capacity, as not worth their trouble.
Divish,
only fight other Chaos Warriors and other Chaos tribes. And the Skull Reapers are found within a specific tribe called the Scaramore, who, as I say, are dedicated to the service of our good blood god and bone skull friend, Khorne. Ben, you had a tentacle up.
What kind of size? We've talked about the juggernauts being massive before. Are they always massive? Are they a single size? Or are they like the blood letters?
Thirsters.
Which one's it? Blood thirsters. Are they range in size?
No, they've always been about the size of
a bus,
a family car.
Right. Okay.
They're not small at all. They're a significant size, and they're mechanical. You know, as we've mentioned previously, the giant robot dog rhinos of Khorne.
Big family car, probably just on the threshold of the London ULEZ cap.
Yeah. Like a Saphira.
If it's a hybrid, you'll get away with it. Hybrid bloodthirster.
If it's a hybrid juggernaut.
Yeah.
But yes, so all of those, the Khorne Gore, the Skull Crushers, and the Skull Reapers, they all have miniatures. You can have them on the tabletop, and they are quite effective. Mr. Chris.
So, did you say, was it Khorne Gores that will only fight other Chaos tribes? Or did I get that right?
The Skull Reapers.
The Skull Reapers, excuse me. Would they just plain out refuse to duel, battle, or engage in any combat with anyone that's not in a Chaos tribe? Would they just would they just let the other guy punch him? Whilst they're like, no, you're not part of a Chaos tribe.
Yeah.
I'm not rebuttaling. No.
Maybe there has been on occasion where that has happened, but in general, the tribe won't allow themselves to be put in that position. So they I was
going to say, because if a non-Chaos person just came running at you with a sword, it's self-defense, and you wouldn't, you know what I mean?
But it'd be much like when the Hulk flailed Loki around. It would be that. It'd be, this small guy screaming at you. You just pick him up and whack him into the ground.
Wow.
More of a lesson rather than a beating. Yeah. Just like us. Yeah, got it. Okay.
It did definitely up with your... What did you call it? Domestic affection?
Yes.
Where you just... Yeah. Why are you making me do this to you? Yeah. It would be that.
Look what you've done.
Why are you punching yourself?
Oh, man, you've got blood in my blood cup. It's the wrong blood. Yeah.
Better than the wrong jizz.
Oh. Well, I don't know. You'd be fairly savage. An orgy of murder. Ugh. Anyone else watch Event Horizon? Moving on. So in terms of Khorne's champions, as we kind of hinted at the start,
Scarbrand.
Scarbrand, no, that is a bloodthirster of Khorne. The champions of Khorne tend to come from the Kurgan and the Hung tribes in the north and east of that great circular chaos map that Ben loves. They tend not to be Norskins. Norskins, while there are champions of Khorne that come from, the Norskin realm just above the Empire, they're more likely to come from the Kurgan and the Hung tribes.
Because
the Norskins tend to get on better with each other than the Kurgan and the Hung get on better with each other, or within each other's tribes.
Okay.
The excesses tend not to be as broad within the Norskin tribal system. So
it's quite cliquey.
Yeah. Well, you'd hope it would be, you don't want suddenly an entire tribe dedicated to Khorne rocks up and that's it. You're going to be the wrong blood in the wrong guy's cup. So a good example of a champion coming from the Marauder tribes is someone who became to be known as Valkia the Bloody. They started off as a Joe Blogg standard Chaos Marauder who was defending their village or their settlement during something called the Blackened Winter, where the winds of chaos were blowing particularly hard and the loosely kind of farm or the kind of small level crofting, the farming that was actually introduced by the parents of the Glotkin, if you'll recall. We covered that last episode, The touchy-feely people who came from the south and up into Norska. Yes, the Blackened Winter devastated the agriculture and it was like one of the long winters from Game of Thrones where the ground turned into effectively hard as ice. And so Abrax's tribe realized that the only recourse for all of their for them and all of their neighbors was to raid each other and steal their food stores and other resources. And so he began to defend his village alongside the other warriors, but the winter just kept going and the raiders from other tribes just kept coming. And this led him to become the constant pressure of both the deprivation and the warfare drove him insane. And he ended up becoming a kind of blood-slaughtered or a blood-maddened killer devoted to Khorne. So this is again we're seeing the reaction to hardships being violence, and that pulled him into that. And because he was going down that path, his sanity was eroded until he simply became, a blood-threshing machine. He conquered he assumed control of not only his village, but of surrounding settlements, and he called his war band the Slaughtermen of Khorne, and he tolerated no challenges to his command whatsoever. And eventually his kind of path of the champion led him through to a battle at the Vale of Corpses against a Zinchian or Zentekian, as some people would pronounce it. A
Zenchanian.
A lord called Varesh Warptongue, and they fought a great battle of their war bands. And Abraxas slew Warptongue at the Vale of Corpses after first kind of powering up by destroying a vampire count's army led by the Strigoi.
That was his warm-up, was it?
That was his warm-up, was an entire Strigoi army of the undead.
Yeah. Nice. By killing a vampire count's fucking army, all right. It's fucking extra.
Another example of someone falling, I suppose is the correct term, to the worship of Khorne, is a champion who became known as Slaurith. And he started out as Sir Luther von Zackenhelm, a Knight of the Blazing Sun. And if anyone has played Warhammer, The Return of Reckoning or Age of Reckoning, the Knight of the Blazing Sun is the Empire tank character that you can play.
Oh.
Having learned of something called the Bastion Stair, which is once you get up into the Chaos Wastes, the border between, or a large section of the border between the Chaos Wastes and the Realm of Chaos itself, is defended by this huge great wall. And the Bastion Stair is one of the only entrances that you can pass through to get into the Chaos Waste proper. And a lot of Chaos champions on their path to the Chaos Waste die at that stair. And it is, it's larger than the pyramids to get, to go up through. And it's dominated mostly by Khorne. Mr. Chris.
How are you spelling stair?
Stair. It's not someone staring you down.
That's what the Bastion Stair, I thought it was like. Yeah, okay, yeah.
It's an angry lighthouse. All right. Yeah. It's Barad-dûr. We're talking about Barad. Yeah. A giant eye. But what he wanted to do was get in and seal the kind of chaos gate that powers the Bastion Stair. And so he and an army fought their way through. Well, let's go through it. The Northern Empire, Kislev, Troll Country, Chaos Wastes, Bastion Stair, Prophet. And so...
Hanging Gardens of Babylon?
Hanging Gardens of Babylon.
Prophet.
Boom.
Sorry.
Prophet.
Yeah. As he and his army were fighting up the stairs, this staircase, you could get an army into it quite easily. So they were kind of slowly making their way up this. He heard kind of whispers and kind of promises of power and martial strength, not marital strength, martial strength. And so he kind of strayed away from his army and I like to imagine it was very much like the second to last level in Halo, the first one, the library, where you have to make your way through the various levels of fighting off the flood.
Yeah. Fucking long.
Long and creepy and narrow.
Yeah.
And so
at
eventually,
least 50% longer than it really needed to be. I think is why.
Yeah. And there was this shit-talking hover orb next to it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Will it ever fuck off and stay fucked off?
You shoot it and it does nothing. Anyway, so he eventually found his way into a great kind of gladiatorial arena whose walls were made of brass and red stone, again, colours associated with Khorne, and there lay a kind of demon herald. Not lay, that's weird. He came in and there was like a demon herald. Just kind of lying on a chaise lounge.
Jeff Goldblum style.
Yeah.
Oily, hairy chest out on display. Put it away, Jeff.
The demon got up from his very comfortable sofa and attacked Luther. And Luther was able to kill it. But then another demon appeared. And then another. And another. And another. And the number of demons that he actually killed he lost count.
It was a lot.
But as he was doing that, he felt his kind of lust for battle grow, and his desire to conquer any foe that he faced grew, and ultimately led to him making a pact with Khorne. And so von Zackenhelm transformed into a Chaos Champion of Khorne, who went back to his army and killed everyone that would not also dedicate themselves to Khorne. And so Slaurith, the champion of Khorne, as he is now, still waits to this day in that arena with his kind of warband, waiting to conquer the next challenge or the next being that he feels is worthy of his challenge.
Wow.
So we're seeing the corruption of this kind of martial idea through constant and unrelenting warfare into simply one-on-one kind of duel to the death with any comer.
It's very like hyper masculine, isn't it?
Very much
kind
so.
Of Khorne, like lifestyle, high octane violence, domination.
Yeah,
not really appropriate in today's zeitgeist.
Yeah, because all the stuff that Slaanesh gets up to is very acceptable. What?
Well, that's liberating.
Yeah.
All right.
And I beg your pardon. It's empowering.
Yeah, it's
Go
empowering. Exactly. Yeah.
Don't get me started. So there gives you some examples of how champions of Khorne kind of come into being, or how they find themselves on the path. As I say, the Norskins, they're not a huge percentage of the total kind of warriors and champions of Khorne, but they do exist. And we ourselves, I don't think we can actually mention Vermintide anymore in our intros, because we have not played it in so long. But do you remember the Berserker characters, that the guys with the two axes that would run at you? Those were the kind of Norskin representations of kind of the day-to-day Joe Khorne warrior. That's a Berserker.
Okay, right.
Obviously, there is a certain universal appeal, as Chris pointed out there. It tends to be a very, we would associate it with a masculine appeal, given our propensity, or humans' propensity, for war, violence, and bloodshed. So any warrior, as I've said earlier, who loses themselves in the act of killing, either for a greater cause or for personal gratification and glory, will end up following to the path of Khorne. So in terms of the Empire, we touched on it earlier, and to some extent Bretonnia as well, I suppose, and the other human realms. Despotic nobles and bloodthirsty kind of knights, the entitled classes of humanity, can serve as a kind of good breeding ground for these resentments and need for personal glory and vengeance on those wrongs that you feel have applied to you. Really do play a big role in drawing in that kind of level of society into anger and bloodshed. I'm slowly turning into Yoda, fear leads to hate leads to anger, and so on.
Hang on to Babylon. Cool.
Dark side.
There is an aspect of Khorne that kind of deals with revolution as well. So it's those who are overthrowing.
Vive la révolution!
Yeah, overthrowing their masters, breaking their chains, and then using their chains to strangle people, and eventually, very slowly, saw heads off for the bone skulls, as we've mentioned previously. In terms of the gifts that Khorne is able to give to these champions, we talked about the kind of arms and armor. You say, Khorne, I'm going to follow you. Bam, suit of chaos armor next to you, or actually on you when you're awake or you're asleep. A lot of chaos weapons, as in magical weapons, ranging from blades that just pass through armor to the more kind of esoteric weapons, such as skeleton hordes, which is a weapon that if you kill someone, their flesh just sloughs off their body, and a skeleton warrior fights next to you.
Pops out.
Yeah. So, yeah, I imagine that'd be very distressing to see.
Yeah. Especially if it happened to your mate next to you. Just pop. Whoa, shit.
No, it'd be all right, because he'd be a champion of Khorne as well, and you'd get bonus credit for killing him.
Okay. Right, yeah. Yep.
Right. To blades that have been quenched in the blood of certain monsters that give them extra kind of bitey power.
Deliciousness.
Blades that allow you to fly. There's dragon breath swords.
Why not?
Yeah.
Don't ask what you do with the blade to help you fly, but it's a levering thing. You have to rest it on a rock, and then you stand on one end. Your mate jumps on the other. Fucking pew!
Fucking huge blades. Yeah.
I just love the idea of an army faced off against an army of Khorne going, oh, look, we've got very good defensive lines here. What the fuck is that? Coming right at you.
He's got one of them flying swords. Run.
This is weird.
There's a sword that allows you to levitate. So you're just up in the air. You can't move.
Yeah.
That was the first version of the sword that allows you to fly.
Yeah.
Hand me my hover axe. Yeah.
It's annoying because then you've got to kind of like, lean down to slash,
Yeah.
It's a bit shit.
And other types of blades that like sap the strength from your enemy and give it to you. And,
all the usual cliche stuff.
All the usual stuff.
Swords that empty your bank account. Yeah, those kind of things.
So these types of weapons exist in all Chaos armies, but with a greater prevalence in Khorne armies. So again, it's this reliance on magic items versus magic spells.
So yeah, he's almost like compensating for the fact that he hasn't got the magic casters in there. It's a bit ironic, isn't it? And it's a bit like kind of eye-rolly. He's like, no magic in my armies apart from everything that's magic.
Yeah.
It's like
hey, mate, what do you think of this new sword? It's the sword of invisible death. And the guy's like, oh, is that a magic sword? He's like, no, don't worry about where that did not come from. It's a sword of invisible death, mate. It's like, I'm pretty certain that was magic. Like, they used magic to make that. I don't care. It's not magic.
It really
anymore.
is. There is an aspect of Khorne that really does feel like a no girls allowed club. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a tree house.
But we can wear their clothes.
Yeah. So I didn't want to be able to use magic anyway. Yeah, it's that kind of energy. Yeah. Khorne's other kind of gifts that he gives you the gift of flesh, which sounds awesome, but it's mutations, and some of them will be beneficial.
Is it the reversal of when he's just turned you into a skeleton? Is that all right? You can have your flesh back.
Yeah.
No, they used the flesh that came off the skeleton as, do you know what I mean?
As someone else.
Spares.
You pay it forward.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The next guy just has double layer of flesh.
We shouldn't be so short, Krell. Well, fuck's sake. Could you imagine if, like, Ben and I swap flesh? Ben will just be like, again.
Yeah, exactly. like wearing a kid's top or something. Like, I can barely move.
Isn't that how you met?
I mean, you're just like, oh, fucking hell. It's like a fucking wizard's sleeve, isn't it? It's just all baggy.
But a good aspect, or rather, an aspect of Khorne, which now feels like a good point to insert, is technology. In the 3rd edition, you could actually, the concept of the robotic dog rhinos of Khorne, the juggernauts, extended out then into mutations revolving around technology. So you had cyborg, in the fantasy setting, you had cyborg champions of Khorne, and indeed there were miniatures for these, where they had, like, one half of them was robotic. You also had weapons. You had
robotic or mechanical?
Kind of both, I suppose. Cyborg
and a kind of electric energy. It's like magic powered mechanics.
Yeah,
that kind of idea.
Don't ask how it works.
Yeah.
It's the same
magic,
as the sword of invisible death.
Yeah. It's kind of like magic. It tastes like magic. It smells like magic. It ain't magic.
But it's a duck. Yeah, exactly. Just leave it.
Exactly.
But you also were able to gain, or you had access to, every single weapon that was in Warhammer 40k 1st edition. You could have like your Khorne champions had a better than average chance.
Bomb.
That kind of notion, yeah. Las cannons. You could have in a fantasy game, you could have a Khorne champion who had las cannons or a heavy bolter. or.
Okay,
and could absolutely
cool.
decimate their ranks.
But isn't that counter to Khorne's whole thing of up close combat kind of job?
But it's some magic items, like you've got dragon breath blades, which are magic items that it's a flamethrower effectively.
Right,
so it's this.
There's some.
It's really the range thing is a bit come on, Khorne, what are you playing at here? But it's technology. Yeah. It's something that you have to use. You have to there's a physicality to the weapon that gives that effect. So there are when you used to be able to have archery or archers in your Chaos army, you would be able to have bow equipped Chaos Marauders or Chaos Thugs as they were known back then. But that has since faded out. So the most in terms of ranged weapons you can have for infantry are throwing axes. So there is a ranged element to that. It's not very far, but it is it's a melee weapon you can throw at people.
Is it limited ammo, or are we talking Space Marine magazines again? Is it just to throw as many fucking axes as you want? Don't worry about where they come from.
No, the axes, it's
magic.
There are enough in the unit to be able to use them for the entire game. In terms of like a Chaos Champion with a heavy bolter, it's magic. There's an endless hopper of
gun bullets
available for the thing in tiny magazines, even smaller than usual. Ben.
Okay, fine.
Okay. He's not happy. He's not happy.
I'm not getting into it. We all know the glaring flaws there.
Kind of the last kind of broad gift basket, I suppose, is the gifts of beasts for Khorne, and so that manifested in two real ways.
Gift of beasts. I was kind of hoping for but
yeah. So you would, as a Chaos Champion, you would then be gifted either a juggernaut or a pack of flesh hounds who would serve as your kind of troops or your steed.
It's like being given an elephant as a present. Yeah. It's like, hey Ben, happy birthday! I bought you a fucking elephant. Okay.
I don't even have an elephant, pen. Where
what do they eat?
You gave me a juggernaut, but I have nothing to polish it with. There's that kind of notion.
If only I knew of something that would help with that.
That would be able to. That'll buff right out. Yeah. Mm-hmm. This kind of bestial gift also manifested as chaos mutations, where you would get the head of a juggernaut or the head of a hound of a flesh hound.
And is it like one of those magazines? It's like $5.99 to begin with, and you get the head. And then you have to subscribe to get the rest of it, and each subsequent magazine's like fucking 20 quid. Next week is the kneecaps. Yeah,
the kneecaps of Khorne, a very niche.
You have to wait for 7 issues before you can actually connect the bits that you've got together.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Another magic item description: the elbows of Khorne.
The elbows of Khorne.
Go for it.
The elbows of Khorne. Well, let me guess. They're a joint, probably on the arm area. Are these a real thing? Are you pulling?
No, I'm just making it up. I'm just wanting to see if you can come up with the. I was thinking it's like really aggressive mosh pit action. You got your elbows right up.
Yeah.
In the mosh pits.
Like +1 at close combat or something.
Yeah. So yes. Champions of Khorne.
Ta-da.
We'll close out with just a bit of a look at a couple of more champions of Khorne. One that we've met already. Arbaal the Undefeated. If you recall, in one of the first kind of history breakdowns, Arbaal was a Norscan warrior who was able to kill everyone who faced him. And so he wanted to go on. He rode off into the Plain of Skulls to challenge Khorne himself. He wanted to be able to...
And was never seen again.
And was never seen again. Yeah. Until now. He reappeared. He reappeared roughly 3,000 years later during the Great War against Chaos at 2300, where he was mounted upon an enormous flesh hound called the Hound of Khorne, the something of someone. This flesh hound, this enormous dog, was Khorne's beloved pet. It is Khorne's favourite flesh hound. And he was riding it like it was a horse because it was larger than a horse. Arbaal had become Khorne's favourite Chaos champion. And gained the name the Undefeated because he had no feet.
So did they become like buddy? Like he kind of was like, right, I'm going to go fight Khorne, and then they got there and actually they got on really well. And so they had a smoke. And
I like to think it was like those movies 48 Hours, with Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy.
Nope.
You have to watch 48 Hours. It's one of the greatest movies ever made. Anyway.
I'll watch that. 48 Hours.
But it's a really kind of, I imagine it's a kind of buddy cop style show where Arbaal turned up. He was just so confident and so angry that Khorne just couldn't. He said, I should kill you, but I just like you. You're funny. Here's my favorite dog. Ride him as a horse back into the world. And so...
And do you know what? I'm going to let you keep the title Undefeated because, technically we didn't fight, so you're still undefeated. Was he the Undefeated when he went to fight Khorne?
Yes, as well. He had never been bested. Hence the journey to try and beat the god of fighting. Arbaal has become Khorne's favourite and most devoted servant, warrior, and has been gifted with... Now, this is where something gets a bit squirrely. He was gifted with the power of the Destroyer. And it was originally an ability, but then became a weapon around about 5th edition. So started out as an ability. In the game, it's represented as you get to roll one attack. If it hits, you roll 2d6, and that's actually how many hits you took. It's a flurry of axe blows, which means that on the tabletop and in the lore, Arbaal just needs to hit something once and it's fucked in general. And so he is undefeated against mortals and longer-lived mortals and monsters, and has such a... How would you describe it? Such a fighting spirit, such devotion to Khorne, that he was able to survive the Great War against Chaos, where other champions like Valnir the Reaper or the Everchosen, the 11th Everchosen, Asavar Kull, died within that war, were killed. And so he continues to this day as a fighty, hound-riding, badass warrior. I have a picture of him, actually, and we'll put it in the show notes.
I love that he was undefeated. Like, when he came back, were people not in, he's like, I am Arbaal the Undefeated. And they were like, hold on a minute.
Who?
Weren't you undefeated when you went on? Does that mean you killed Khorne? Because last time I prayed to a man, he was talking to me, and you went off to kill him. So how are you still undefeated, bro? It sounds like he's like, oh no, we didn't fight in the end. We just went out for dinner. It was really nice. He gave me a dog.
He gave me a dog. I punched his shin. He laughed and gave me a dog. Yeah.
It was weird, and now here I am.
The hound doesn't look so huge.
There's a giant Chaos Warrior sitting on top of it. It's like a Shire horse of a dog.
Okay. Another thing. So he turns up 3,000 years later. He's well forgotten. He comes in making a grand entrance. I am Arboreal the Undefeated, was it?
I know. Arbaal the Undefeated, and everyone is like,
Arboreal the Undefeated, and everyone's just like, yeah, right.
Who's this guy?
Yeah, pretty much.
Have you seen this guy's large, small dog? It's very strange.
This guy's a chaos puppy. It's adorable.
So, I would say he is the kind of favorite, perhaps even beloved, I don't know, warrior of Khorne. But he also has this kind of weird fate hanging over him, because he knows that if he ever flees from a battle or fails to kill the enemy in front of him, Khorne will instantly and without notice transform him into a chaos spawn.
High risk,
but he'll take
reward.
His dog back first. Yeah.
Oh, that.
So is he?
Minutes, wouldn't it?
So has he only got one model because obviously the old world finished and there's been no new models for Chaos released yet?
No, this model was for, if memory serves, 5th edition, and they just didn't include Arbaal as a character in any other games moving forward. He was mentioned again in the End Times, but only insofar as he was the champion who went with T'Challa to fight in Ind. So
he was the guy.
We will cover him again when we do the End Times. That's Arbaal. And so the final champion I want to talk about is now a demon prince, Cess. We're going to talk about Valkia the Bloody,
yes,
a warrior queen of the Norscan Schwarzwolf. Schwarzwolf? Yeah. That's easy for you to say, Darren. Of the Norscan Shrupel tribe, known for maintaining her rule through combat. So very much a Khorne champion in kind of outlooks from the get-go. She is one of the very few characters, and maybe we're including Arbaal in here as well, who receive anything akin to affection from Khorne, because he almost exclusively is consumed by rage, violence, and bloodlust, as kind of is depicted by most of his demons and his followers. But if you've got an Arbaal, you're probably that kind of calms your character down when you get a puppy.
Yeah,
and then your next step is probably to get a girlfriend or boyfriend. We're not here to judge.
Yeah, and then an apartment.
Her rise to demonhood was meteoric, because she caught the attention of Khorne after the Battle of Carrick Gulg, maybe, devastated a series of dwarf strongholds, and at every stronghold performed something called the Blood Raven as a way of executing her enemies, which is the Blood Eagle from our own Viking kind of things. So this glorification of bloodshed and violence and torture and murder is really what kind of caught that gave Khorne a tingle in his no angry place. Let's call it that.
Which is just
Khorne's like, why am I feeling feelings?
Other than the feelings I'm made of. This is very...
As she was progressing through the various kind of stages on her path to demonhood, she was pursued by a demon prince of Slaanesh called Losophax, who felt that after a particularly savage battle, of which they were on the kind of similar side, they were on the chaos side rather than their opposition, he felt that she would be much better as a sex slave than as a commander of armies. And she felt, let's say, abridged. Yeah, she felt abridged that. And in an display of incredible martial power, decapitated the demon prince and announced that she was going to take the head of Losophax and put it at the bottom of, or put it at the feet of Khorne as a kind of gift of her faith and devotion, and possibly affection.
Aww.
As with many champions, unfortunately, she died in the Chaos Wastes, probably at somewhere on the Bastion Stair. But Khorne...
With gin or without gin? Probably with gin.
Probably with gin. Khorne, acting on his weird and newfound feelings, resurrected her, brought her back to life, and reshaped her body so that she now had the kind of backwards legs of many kind of goat demon images.
But she loved that.
An elongated kind of head in line with the blood letters, the lesser demons, horns, and a pair of mighty wings. So she became ultimately the demon princess and is known as the Shield-Maiden of Khorne, or the Gore Queen.
Nice.
And so she is now Khorne's consort. I think that might just be an emotional consort. I'm not sure if she's had relations with Khorne. To be fair, it's none of my business. If they're two consenting entities, who am I to talk about?
Two consenting clouds of energy, just sort of mixed together momentarily. Don't ask when
smoke and fog mix. What do you get?
Yeah,
it gets real messy.
So she now exists as kind of Khorne's Valkyrie, which may have gone some way to kind of deciding what name she had as a mortal, Valkia. So she selects the greatest warriors of Khorne from the battlefield and takes them up to, have blood wine. No, that's Klingon.
She's the maitre d'.
She's the maitre d' of Khorne.
Hi, always... table for 2, 3. Oh, you got a friend coming. Oh, excellent. Okay, yeah, I think we've got a table clearing up in about 5 minutes. You're sitting by the bar. We'll get you a drink. Great, thank you.
So she does exist as a miniature, and there is art of her. I have got neither to hand, and will include them in the show notes.
Fantastic.
In terms of war gear, she's armed with her spear, the very spear she used to decapitate the Losophax demon.
Old Heady John,
and it's called Sleipnir, which is the similar name of Odin's 8-legged steed from Norse mythology. Yeah,
cool.
Sleipnir.
Always tripping up.
Yeah. She wears a suit of chaos. Yeah. She wears a suit of chaos armor, as most champions of Khorne do.
Yeah.
And she has an enormous shield upon which is the skinned face of the Losophax demon.
Okay.
The demon whose head she decapitated. It's quite funny because it's like a big tower shield. It's very big, and the demon is still alive. It's bound to the shield, and it has a big tongue. Yeah, has a big tongue that lashes out and kind of draws people near, like most of the things that Slaanesh kind of manufactures has.
That's cool. Love that.
All is not joyous in terms of being a champion of Khorne. Very few make it to the heights of Arbaal or Valkia, and we'll close out this episode just with mention of Scyla Anfingrimm, who is referred to as the Talon of Khorne, or indeed the Rage of Khorne. He was a Norse pirate captain dedicated to the gods and indeed Khorne, and as he was one of those kind of pirate captains that killed everything and left nothing on the ship. So, yeah. And so that gave him kind of Khorne's great favor. And over a series of raids and years, he was given like a gorilla's body. His body swelled up to the proportions and size of a gorilla, and then grew again. He got a kind of bestial human head with a kind of horns and bony growths coming out of his shoulders. He was rewarded with a tail, a long prehensile tail that had a kind of grasping mouth at the end. But he was given one mutation too many, and he went from being this hulking ape-like champion of Khorne to a chaos spawn. His mind was just dissolved under the attentions of Khorne. And now he is viewed as a really angry good luck charm by the forces of chaos. So any army that includes a significant contingent of Khorne, if Scylla is associated with the force or just happens to tag along, they are driven to new heights of horror and terror and killing, I suppose, because that's what Khorne is all about.
Is that why Tilla is in his Chaos Spawn form or in his ape-like form?
No, Scylla he's retained his ape-like form, but he is now Chaos Spawn to all intents and purposes. He is no longer in charge of his war band, and he's kept on himself as a kind of a good luck charm. So he is the cautionary tale of flying. He's the Icarus of Khorne. Yeah, is perhaps a good way to do it. And thus we close out our sort of stilted conversation about the god of anger, blood, skulls of bone, and war, and his champions and gifts.
What's his name?
There we go. The last guy, Scyla Anfingrimm.
Oh, I thought you meant Khorne.
No, the main event, Khorne.
Khorne.
Got it. Yeah. Easy to forget. Easy to forget.
Saw where you were going with that one, Kral. Yeah, nice one, pal. Yeah.
So, thoughts?
Yeah, everything you thought about him, really. You know, he's the most familiar, isn't he? He's the most familiar of the gods.
Yeah,
the most relatable. Yeah.
Nothing no real surprises. Overwhelming there.
Yeah, decent. Know where you stand. The magic thing. Get it? Yeah. It's a bit difficult, isn't it? It's a tricky one. It's when you're up against other armies with like very, very powerful sorcerers, and you're just like, no, out of principle, we're not using. You're kind of shooting yourself in the foot without magic, kind of thing.
It's the sword versus gun scene out of Indiana Jones, isn't it? It's like
kinda.
What are you gonna do, man? You know, they've got magic.
Yes.
It's like, but my sword is. Just fuck your sword. That's a stupid idea. Like, get some magic, dude.
Exactly.
Oh, I see. Exactly. You mean that the Indiana Jones is the magic users? I was thinking Indiana Jones was a follower of Khorne with access to technology, and so he was killing the swordsman from a distance. It might as well be magic.
Works as well.
The result's the same. Yeah.
It's all right. It's still very cool, and I think I love the kind of the powerful stance of them all. You know, big armor, big weapons, but nothing unsurprising there. I mean, it's
well, I think this highlights the real kind of lore authentic notion of there's no subtlety. You can't really bite into a great story because it's just anger and rage and war. So they don't have the kind of compelling stories of the other champions of the other Chaos gods.
Akinning it to or drawing parallels with some of our D&D sessions, when you play a Khorne type character, so kind of a tanky barbarian, axe or sword wielding melee specialist, it's quite boring. You kind of got one or two abilities, very, very powerful, but that is it, really.
And
it does get a little bit boring in the campaigns.
It's funny as well, actually, just talking about the kind of the story aspect of it. One of the things that I find with the other three Chaos gods is that their manipulation of kind of, not every day, but more common kind of human feelings, expressions of feelings, of emotions, is so much more insidious that when you hear the story, I often think like, well, what would I do in that situation? Do you know what I mean? Like, I've felt envy before. I've felt lust before. Like, if that happened to me, like, or if I was
I've been diseased before.
Yeah, exactly. I've had the plague before. And I do you know what? I actually relate a lot of it to the difference between the horror genre and the gorno or torture porn genre that Saw and Hostel and those films kind of characterize. Because when I'm watching horror, I'm just like, it's just a film. I'm just watching a film. But in Gorno, I'm like, fuck, man, what would I do? Do you know what I mean? It really gets into my head. And I'm like, what would I do in that situation? Khorne is very much just horror. It's just on the surface. There isn't really any... There's nothing particularly challenging about it from a kind of storytelling perspective.
From like psychologically, it's very, very straightforward.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very direct. You know what you're getting. You know, an axe in the head, in your skull of bone.
Can't argue with that. You can't argue with it.
No. I imagine that they're quite fun to play on the tabletop, though.
But very effective. Very effective as an army, man.
They'll just railroad any situation. That's what I get. Just like fucking charge.
And a piece of pissed paint. Once you've got the models assembled, you just spray them red, wash them with red ink, dry brush them red. You're good to go.
Bleed on them a bit, and then bam. Off they go. And then on the table, it's real blood. That was real blood.
That's real blood, yeah. Go on,
don't worry. That's not real red paint.
Pick it up. I dare you. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. We have to wrap up. Anything else?
No.
All right, that's all from us. Thank you so much for listening. Details and imagery for the topics we've discussed in this podcast can be found on our website at layingdownthelore.com. We also have all our previous episodes on there, release schedules and merchandise. Again, if you are keen to support the show, just click on the Quartermaster link in the description and give us all of your chaos bucks. We'll be back again soon, displaying just how little Chris and I know. And until then, goodbye.
Farewell, au revoir.
Goodbye. I'm so angry.